Joining me right now, Kentucky Senator, Senate Foreign Relations and Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee member, Rand Paul. Senator, always a pleasure to see you. Let's just get right into the news of the day. I know it's New York City, not to sound, being a New Yorker now, not to be focused on the local, but the public schools here shutting down. Clearly, these left-wing leaders are giving in to the demands of the unions. What say you, and should we be concerned about this happening in other parts of the country?
Well, there's no science to support it. If you look at all the science and all the objective data on going back to school, it created no surges. There's been no surge in teacher deaths, no surge in teacher illness. It's been very, very manageable. And this is a different disease for kids than it is for the elderly. If you don't acknowledge that, you're not following the science. And, many on the left who want to lock us down are adamant we should follow the science, but they absolutely ignore the science on children. Children rarely die from this. It's about 1 in a million. They're actually not very good transmitters of it as well. And closing the schools is foolish and unscientific and will lead to great harm in the economy because many parents have their kids in school and can't work if their kids are not in school.
Senator, I'm sure that government overreach keeps you up at night the way that it keeps me up at night. And I'll point to Gretchen Whitmer in the state of Michigan with the restaurant suing over Michigan's rule. And the Wall Street Journal editorial board writes this at the end of their editorial today. As Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito said last week, the longer emergency powers are in use, the more they become questionable under law. The bars may be closed, but too many governors are drunk on power. Perhaps federal courts can sober them up. How concerned are you about this overreach, and could the courts intervene and be the solution for all Americans who value freedom?
Let's hope in this case the court will intervene. I've been calling my governor for months DWP, drunk with power, because he's taken this power without any consent from the legislature of the people. It's never, ever been taken before. And what he's ruling on and the edicts that are coming from the governor and from the governor of Michigan, they're completely arbitrary. They're not based in any kind of science. There is really very little objective science to prove that any of this works. In fact, the Danish study on masks shows that objectively, guess what? The cloth masks don't work. They're theater. If you look at the cloth masks, 97% of virus-sized particles go through a cloth mask. So we're kidding ourselves. And what it's doing is it's detracting from the one thing that could save us and could really help us, and that's the vaccine. I've been a big proponent of releasing it early. I think that we've had enough safety and effectiveness data. What they should do is, if they want to continue the trials, instead of 40,000 people in a trial, why don't we make them 4 million? So at least another 3.5 million could be enrolled in the trials if you still want to have a placebo wing. But I think you could rapidly expand the trials or allow compassionate use, and I see no reason why you can't start letting people voluntarily, people who want to take it, and I think there will be millions who want to take it, let them get started, and that way we can head towards immunity, combining natural immunity and vaccinated immunity to get to where we need to get much quicker. But I think waiting another 4 months to get started is foolish.
And that also, your position also encourages Americans to go out there and get it. When polls have showed that, like the Wall Street Journal polls showed that more than 1/4 of people said they wouldn't take it. So you want to encourage people to go out and get that vaccine. Based on the mismanagement of the coronavirus, the pandemic, the shutdowns, which we're still seeing, say, here in New York, are you concerned about the distribution, though, of these vaccines? Does the federal government have it under control? Do they know what they're doing? Because, again, it ultimately will also fall on the governors and local officials in these states to get it to the people who need it.
I think we'll overcome the distribution problems, and that's a technical problem that I really am not equipped to tell you exactly when or where and how we can do it. But I will tell you that when people report, oh, my goodness, 1/4 of the people don't want to take a vaccine, well, the other side of the coin is 3/4 of the people do, and that's a lot of people. So what will happen is the people at high risk and the people with the most interpreting their own personal risk the most will take it the first, and there'll be some rules. But the elderly, those in nursing home, those with comorbidities will all get it. But it'll take a while to get it. So what will happen is confidence will build. Frankly, I've already had it, so I don't need the vaccine. People keep asking politicians, will you take it? Frankly, I will let many other people be first in line, and in a year or two, I might consider taking it when we know a little bit more about how long my immunity is going to last. But the good news is there are 11 million people out there who have had it. survived, and I know not everybody survived, and I have friends who have died from this, so I have a great deal of sympathy. I want people to survive, but the best chance is getting the vaccine forward as long as it's voluntary, and I think plenty of people will take it, and as they survive the vaccine and as they show there aren't significant side effects, more will take it.
And I thank you for reminding me, rather than me being the glass 1/4 empty, it's 3/4 full. That's always a good reminder. We had a hearing on Capitol Hill this week in the Senate with Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey from Twitter there. So there's a great deal of concern about the power of these online media companies, these social media companies, of the censorship there. But what we've seen, and I want to get your reaction to this, is because of the pandemic shutdown, that has handed an incredible amount of power. It's taken power away from small local businesses and made these gigantic tech companies that much bigger. And I point to Amazon. Amazon announced this week that it's launching an online pharmacy. How concerned are you about we don't understand, we have no idea the true reach of these companies and how much of our personal information they control and our freedom. How concerned are you about how large these companies have gotten in the last year because of the way we've decided to fight this pandemic?
As a libertarian-leaning senator, we look at things a little bit different when we think about antitrust. The first antitrust case, the most famous, was Standard Oil. And Standard Oil had 98% of the market. Everybody said, oh, my goodness, woe is me. What are we going to do about it? But the price to the consumer for kerosene, which was the primary product back then, had dropped for 30 years. So I care more about prices and more about price mobility and more about what the consumer gets. Look, I hate Jeff Bezos and his politics, but I love ordering crap off from Amazon. They're knocking on my door. By the time I order it, they're delivering at my door. So they're doing something pretty good. And so I don't want to break up companies that are providing good service. Am I mad when Google bans a speech I gave on the Senate floor? Yes, that's terrible. But people should turn off people they don't like. You know, I've decided no longer to dance on TikTok. You know, I mean, I know I was a big deal dancing on TikTok, but I don't do it anymore because I don't like the fact that my personal dance information might go to China. But we have the ability as consumers to control and rein in big tech. Don't use them. Go from Twitter to Parler. There's all kinds of ways to chastise these people and to show them that you're unhappy with them. But I'm not much for government deciding which companies to break up and which companies not.
All right, we're going to have to argue about that another day because I think that big brothers are Google and Amazon, but we'll have to leave it at that. Senator Rand Paul, pleasure, sir, always.